I'm going to apply an oil glaze to these mixed media paintings. I'm starting off with a fast drying oil medium. This one's by Gamblin, but there's lots of different ones available. I'm mixing about 70% of oil medium with 30% of white spirit. This will just make a nice fast drying glaze that will even out the sheen on the surface of these paintings. Just brushing it all over. I'm being really careful on some areas because there's some loose mediums like soft pastels on there, also some water-based watercolor pencils. So I'm being careful, I don't want them to smear, but when this has dried, it will set them in place. I've effectively turned these acrylic and mixed media paintings into oil paints. Sorry, oil paintings, I should say. Speed this up a little bit. Now, it's still a bit shiny because it's still wet, but it really does bring the colours out and even up the surface beautifully. Now, my next step is to add a little bit of colour to that glaze. And with this, I'm adding Prussian blue, which is a very dark blue, but it's beautiful. And I'm not going to apply it all over the painting, only in the dark areas because I want to bring them alive a little bit more. I'm not altering the shapes or the composition of the painting at all. I'm just darkening some of those areas and putting a bit more colour in. Now I'm just going to use some paper cloth to wipe back some of that colour. This helps to work the colour into the surface. Underneath I've got white paint with very strong brush strokes, and I've also scraped into some of that white paint. And what's happening with this Prussian blue is it's filling in those scratch areas and creating a beautiful texture. Now I'm just using a old razor while it's still wet, and I'm just scraping back on the surface. This creates some beautiful lines and scratch marks into the surface. It really does bring it alive. I just love doing this part. I'll speed it up a bit for you. Now these paintings will sit for a few days while the glaze dries. Before I go on and do the next step, I'll add a little bit of oil pastel mark on top and then do the final varnish and do the edges. Thanks for watching.